Hi there, my name's April Sawtelle and welcome to my channel. Today what I'm doing is I'm just coming back. I made a video a while back about the Temu fabric that I had purchased on the Temu site. There were some people that were wondering what I ended up doing with that fabric or if I would show what I did with the fabric. If you did see that video, what it was I bought all these little packs of 3 3/4 inch red 50 per package squares, but when I got them they were pretty stinky and they were kind of rough. They didn't feel like a quilting cotton. They were like a twill cotton. So I had said, oh, I probably will put those into bags or to, make a bag or make some makeup pouches or something like that. I ended up leaving the fabric out, and what happened is the smell did end up going away. And I still haven't washed the fabric yet, but as soon as I get the quilt all put together, I'll be washing it. The smell really did go away. So I had decided I didn't want to make any makeup bags or pouches or anything like that. So I decided to make a picnic quilt. Just something that we could drag around outside and that could go, on the beach or on the grass or on the picnic table. I always bring like a blanket to put over a picnic table when we're on our adventures. So I thought, well, that would probably work well for something like that. So I had bought the fabric purposefully because it was red, and red's my favorite color. So I'm going to take you step by step at how to actually make the block that I used to make this. Now, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this particular project. I just wanted to kind of build my blocks really quickly. And because it was all red and all the colors I wanted, I decided I would start out and I would make some big patchwork squares. So what I'm going to be using in today's project is my rotary cutter, some pins, I've got a marking tool, I've got some scissors handy, and I've got my iron. Here's the squares. And then you're going to need some contrast and fabric. I only needed 9 blocks. I'm going to make each square 20 by 20, and my quilt is just going to be 60 by 60, and then I'll put a border around it later. So all I'm doing in today's video, though, remember, is just showing you what I ended up making, and that is the block. You can make these blocks any size you want to. So I made 5 big squares. Now I only needed 9 blocks, but I made blocks if you decide to make 9 blocks like I did. So I had 5 pieces of contrast in fabric, and I had 5 squares. That's going to give me 10 blocks. I only need 9, but you'll see because I got to cut them, triangular. That's the only way I can come up with that. But that's okay. I'll have 1 orphan block when I'm done. That will be fine. Okay, so here's the block behind me. I'm just going to take you over to the sewing machine and show you how I did that. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. I really like how the contrast was with this block. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy I was able to use it. Surprised because I didn't think I would use it in a quilt. And then I'm like, you know what? It's perfect. It's going to work perfectly for me now by having a picnic quilt. Now, what I'm going to be step by step at how I'm going to make this quilt block. So I started out and I made a square with 6 3 3/4 inch squares, 6 across and 6 down. So I had a nice big square. I'm just going to take my little pack here and I'm just going to put the dark color, and I'm going to just pick a light color. So I'm going to do that throughout the whole pack. I'm just going to try to match like a dark and a light. I'm just going to go ahead and put right sides together. And I'm going to keep the darks on the top. I just seem to always do that. And I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm going to go at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to sew all the way down. I'm really loving this guide I got here. All right, and when I come to the end, I'm just going to line up another one, and I am just going to be chain piecing now. I'm going to take one of the lights and one of the darks. I'm just going to do this to all of these pieces here. I'm going to chain piece all of them. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to have this entire bundle here. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to just start cutting the pieces. I'm just going to cut through all of these to the dark side. Taking what I've sewn together, and I'm going to press this seam, and then I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to push that right open. Now what that did is, by having the dark side face up, it's going to automatically put the seam to the dark side. See, the seam will be falling right to the dark side. I'm going to do that to all of my pieces. It's just something that I like to do to keep that dark side up, because it just keeps me right in an order for the whole, the whole process. It will just keep me right in that order. I'm going to take my 2 squares. I'm going to go dark, light. I'm going to add another 2 square, dark, light. Put those together. I'm going to make a row now. Now that I've got all of my squares made into 2s. Okay, I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch seam, and I'm going to start connecting these 2 squares. I'm going to open this up, and now I'm going to attach another one. And now I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to sew that down 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and you're going to just continue that. So now just go ahead and make 6 of these. All right? 6 rows. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I've got all of my strips here, and they go from, dark, light, dark, light. I'm just going to take these. I am going to just push these seams all in one direction. I'm going to do that to the entire stack. Okay. And I'm just going to make a pile. I just want to be sure that I'm starting on the same end. So start with your dark one, okay? When you flip it, you want to push everything this way. And you want to be consistent with all of the rows. So start every row with a dark. That way you'll know for sure that you're doing it in the right direction. Because we're going to be twisting these around when we start assembling this. And then when you stack them, go ahead and just stack them right on top of each other. Dark, light, dark, light. I am using steam here. Now earlier I said push everything to the dark side. And now I'm going totally opposite of what I said, because a lot of this is not going to be on the dark side. But this way, so it really didn't matter which way you set the seam the last time. I just needed it to lay nice and flat. And that's just how I always do it. I always just go to the dark side. In this particular quilt, it's not going to matter. I've already set the seam once, and now I'm just going to push everything in one direction. Starting with the dark side and pushing right away from it. So yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but it laid everything nice and flat for what I needed at the time. Some of these are very similar in colors, and it just so happened, I'm going to call this one dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. So sometimes if you're using the same fabric, you're going to want to, they don't all match up perfectly dark, light, dark, light. You want to pick the most darkest one to start with, though. Same here. I'm going to call this the dark and this the light. And you can see that it's not much difference, but it is. I mean, I'm going to just follow it as if it's the darker one. The pack just didn't have that many, like, really super darks. So that's fine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and I will see you over there. Okay, so now I've got my strips here beside me. And I'm just going to take and I'm going to put dark, light, dark, light. So I'm going to start with a dark to my left. I'm going to grab another one and I'm going to start with my light on top of that. So I'm going to put right sides together. And the way that we ironed them, these are always going to nest. Know that they're nested because you've got one seam going to the right and one seam going to the left. And then you're just going to feel that with your fingers until it grabs each other. It like fits like a puzzle. A pin in there, nest, you can feel that hit. It's like a ridge there and it hits that ridge. Okay, all I'm going to do, so now it's right sides together and I'm just going to start sewing all the way down at 1/4 of an inch. And one thing that I'm going to do is I am going to give it a back stitch. I like to give back stitches, especially, I just don't like those little ends coming apart, and it always happens to me. So it's just easier if I just give it a back stitch. Doesn't use up that much more thread, and I just don't mind taking that extra step because so many times I just lose that little piece on the end, and then I always have to come back to it, and I don't like to do that. Now what you're looking for here, I'm going to turn this over. You're looking for your seams to line up. Let's see what that looks like. So your squares here, if you can see, you want them to match. See how they're matching up? And that is probably because I've got the pins in there. It really is easier to match them if you have pins. Some people are pinners and some people are not. I am, I guess, most of the time. I didn't used to be, but I noticed that everything, I don't have to usually go back and fix too awful much when I do that. And I used to say, don't worry about it. And I still am going to say that. If you're new to doing this, don't worry about it. Just get that practice in and you'll get better and better as you go. So you don't have to fret over it. I would not pull out the stitches. This is going to be like a picnic blanket, so this is not going to bother me very much at all, however it comes out. So it just takes practice. Don't spend too much time worrying about if your seams matched or not. You will get better and better every time. Nobody's going to notice that stuff unless you point it out. And when you come to the edge, just go ahead and give it a back stitch. Then what you can do is you can push this open and you can see if you did match or not match. And remember, it doesn't matter if you are off. Okay. I'm going to wait till the end and then I'm going to press this all right? Go ahead with your next one and I'm going to go dark, light, dark, light. I'm going to match this together and nest the seams, feeling that lock into place, back stitch, and continue on. Pull the pins out as you go. I'm going to actually take this seam guide off for now because I'm going to follow my presser foot because what's happening is I don't have any control when I get to my seams and I want to have control. Okay, and what I mean by that is I'm coming to a seam. With that there, I couldn't get all the way up to the seam and then pull the pin out. It was coming out way beforehand, and I didn't like that. But that's okay. I can just follow my presser foot here. I like it when I can come all the way up to my seam and then pull my pin. See what I mean? I couldn't get in there, so. And I'm going to give it back stitch. I'm going to open this up. It's really good to me. Okay, I'm going to continue to do this for 6 rows. So I've got 3 so far. Remember, just alternate. So because I started with a dark here, I want to start with a light on top. And I might just look to make sure I don't have the same fabrics touching each other. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. Nest in those seams. Back stitch and off and running. I do way better if I pin than if I don't pin. I don't mind pinning. When I first started sewing, I didn't pin a lot, and boy oh boy, my quilts were really, really wonky. But they're beautiful, and that was okay. And pinning is such a personal preference. Everybody has a different method. Okay, I'm just going to open this up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking, I got light fabric. I'm going to come, and now I got to start with a dark piece. Okay, and I just look really quick to make sure nothing is matching. Nothing matches. Perfect. Continue on. Just remember, if you come across one that's facing in the wrong direction, like this one right here was pushed over this way, just push it back into place and hold it. You just need to hold it there for a second till you sew it or get the pin in it. Sometimes that just happens. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is my 5th row. Back stitch and back stitch. One thing about this fabric, I did not go and check all the sizes of the blocks. So there's several places where I am off quite a bit, but it's because of the block size. If you want accuracy in your block size and you don't want to come and have like this problem here where I'm off, this block is bigger than some of the blocks. So there are some inconsistencies, and it would be better to trim them down one at a time. I'm going to be okay with the inconsistencies, so I'm not going to worry about it. I just wanted to make you aware of that, okay? So let's see where I'm at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got one more row I need to add on here. Dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. And I'm going to just put this right here. Okay, I got 6 rows. I'm going to go give this a good press. I like to just set the seam really quick. It just relaxes it, so when I press this open, I'm going to do that to all of these big seams I just made. And I'm going to give it seam as I'm doing it. And just one more here. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open this all up, and I'm going to push all these seams open. It's a very big block. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting in quadrants. So I started here to the right, and I'll just work myself over to this side, pull it all up, and then I'll just work this side. It's like I'm working a 9 patch here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and give it all a good press and take my time a little bit better. Remember, this is a 20-inch block, so this is pretty big compared to most blocks. The 6 rows all sewn together, and I feel like this is absolutely beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to another step. I think with these two together, that's going to look really nice. You can see here, it's very good contrast. I'm going to make some half square triangles, and they're going to be big. Everything on this quilt is going to be big. Okay, so in order to do that, you're just going to lay, and you're going to put right sides together, and you're just going to match everything up. And I'm going to flip this to the other side so I can see what I'm working with here. Now, this is not going to be perfect to start with because those blocks were not perfect, and I know that this blue fabric is 20 by 20, okay? So this one is all set. This is what I'm going to be going by. So I want to just make sure that I can see, because it's not a perfect cut here, that I can see all of the fabric underneath. You see what I mean? I can outline this whole 20 by 20 piece of fabric. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put some pins in here to hold this in place. I've got right sides together and I'm just going to pop a bunch of pins in to hold this so I can get to my machine. I'm going to be cutting this and trimming this. I'm going to be making a line in a minute going corner to corner. So I don't want to put my pins right where I'm going to be making that line. So I'm going to just come off a little bit, you see. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to just put this right in the corner of the two fabrics. I have two of these rulers. I'm just going to lay them on top of each other, just corner to corner. So if you don't have two of these rulers, you don't need that. Just put something there. If you have a smaller ruler or a skinnier ruler, just put it there to match up with your first ruler. Just because it didn't quite reach to the end because of how I'm going corner to corner. Now you can use any sort of marking tool that you want to. You're going to be cutting on this line later. So I'm just getting ready to make a half square triangle. So I'm just going to start here in this corner and I'm going to work my way up. All right. And for fun, I'll just come down one more time. Because I know that the blue piece is 20 by 20 when I did the measurements, I'm just going to trim this excess fabric off right now just to straighten this out. And I'll just keep turning it. For now, because I'm going to be spinning it so much, I'm going to stick a couple of pins right here in the center. If you're not piecing fabric together, you're just going to have two 20 by 20 pieces, or what, you can do this any size you want to. I love all of these colors together. Nice. Something's a little wonky here, but that's okay. I'll straighten it right out. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down, starting up here. I'll give it a back stitch. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. I'm going to be using this blue line as my guide. My presser foot's going to rest right on the blue line, and I'm going to come down, so it's going to put my stitch in over, like over here. I'm going to do that to both sides. So when I'm done going down one side, I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to come down the other side. All right, I'll see you at the sewing machine. All right, here's my line. I'm going to rest my presser foot right on that. I'm going to come in, and I'm going to come in a little bit, and then I'm going to give it a quick back stitch. And I'm going to just follow this straight line all the way down. I'm going to turn this. I'm going to put my presser foot right back on that line. And I'm going to follow that line all the way down. And I'm going to start with a back stitch. Back stitch right there. All right. See you back at the cutting table. Here's my block. Here's my seam. I'm going to turn this. Take my ruler. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this blue line. I'm going to cut right on that. Right in between the two seams. There. Now we can take the pins out and let's check out our block. Beautiful. I love the contrast. So here's our half square triangle. Now I'm just going to set this seam before I unfold it. And then I'm going to open up my block. And I'm going to push the seam out. I don't think with this quilt it matters, but you can see my dark side is up. So when I push the seam out, it's going to the dark side. I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think you're going to notice it at all because it's really busy. Now you're going to have these little points here on every one of your half square triangles. So what you can do, you can either use your rotary cutter and roll it off, or you can just use your scissors. It's just as easy to use your scissors. And you can stack all of your blocks on top of each other and just like do it all at once. And now you have a perfect block. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you want to see anything more decluttering your home, weight loss, going on adventures, jump over and check out my other channel, Hanging with April. I'm going to put the link below for that as well. That'll be right in the description box. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I always answer the comments, and I'd be very happy to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple, and have a great day. Bye! Say bye, little Miss Reddy Thready.